What's good, y'all? I've got some really simple, nice, and fitting buffs for Arcanine. So, the ability Stamina, to people who don't know too much about like Arcanine lore or this ROM hack in general, might seem weird because like that's a signature ability. A lot of Pokemon that are either explicitly stated to have stamina in some regard, or that just fit it like vibe-wise, like ride Pokemon and stuff, have stamina in this hack. It's a decently common ability, not actually, but maybe about 8 or 9 Pokemon have it total, and Arcanine is one of those, and it's really good. Obviously, Intimidate is still a very good defensive ability, and I think in general, tanky Arcanine abilities are pretty cool. Other abilities that are more offensive, like I don't know, something like Reckless or something, while it doesn't not fit, I'm not a huge fan of it on Arcanine. Number one, I think it might be overkill, and number two, not that I mean it's not overkill in some cases, but I would prefer the more defensive utility that comes with Stamina and Intimidate than just a simple 20% boost from Reckless. Not to mention there are other fire types that have Reckless that are way better and also have dual stab. So like it just feels like Arcanine is kind of cucked, but in this case it's actually very unique. I try to keep all Pokemon of the same type combo unique from one another, so Arcanine is the only pure fire type with Intimidate and the only pure fire type with Stamina, obviously, probably the only fire type period with Stamina that I can think of. And he has good bulk, and pure fire type in game, especially because you don't have to worry about entry hazards, is great. You have a lot of resistances as a fire type, like a lot. Fire resists fire, grass, ice, bug, steel, and fairy. That's a lot of resistances, and that bug resistance especially is very valuable in a ROM hack where bug is one of the best offensive types because of moves like First Impression being widely distributed and bug in general just being better offensively. Speaking of, not only are there type chart changes in this hack, just minor small ones, just buffs to bug and ice, there are also 600 plus moves that have been buffed or changed and reworked, and you can check out all of those buffs and changes in the description below right here on this Google Sheet, as you can see on screen. If you are a background listener and you don't know about this, definitely make sure you look on screen just to see what this looks like. Obviously, I'm assuming, hopefully most of you probably already know what this is by now, but if you haven't checked this out already, please do give it a look because I have buffed and changed the vast majority of moves. Seriously, you're going to really want to familiarize yourself, and not just give it like a cursory skim, you're really going to want to look at what all the new moves do, because those greatly impact the way that literally every single Pokemon in the game functions. With that being said, though, Arcanine is super sick. Intimidate, Stamina. I haven't covered the logic for Stamina yet, my bad. Getting a little sidetracked, but yeah, if you read the Pokedex, it talks about how it runs over 6,200 miles in a single day and night, and a bunch of other things just talking about how it runs nonstop. It runs great distances. The fire burning in its body serves as energy to fuel it as it runs great distances, and it's just all about running, right? This motherfucker is all about running. So Stamina fits very well. It also makes bulky Arcanine really cool because he does have good bulk. 90, 80, 80 is very solid for an offensive Pokemon. You can run a full bulk for certain boss fights because you do have access to infinite EV training items as well as infinite usability capsules. So therefore, every single Pokemon is balanced to be able to switch between its two abilities at will whenever it wants to. So Intimidate is better to, just suppress offensive threats in front of you. Keep in mind that you do have Intimidate plus Parting Shot. You also have Morning Sun, and all that's great and all, Will-O-Wisp, etc. But you also have to keep in mind that you are not going to be able to Intimidate drop Pokemon that have crit moves, which are also pretty common in this hack. Especially Ruthless Pokemon, you won't be able to Intimidate them. The crits will bypass right through that. For example, First Impression is a move that will always crit, and a bunch of others. There's a whole list of them on the Google Sheet, so if you don't know what those are, you can see them all in great detail. But Arcanine, super sick. I did get Dragon Dance, which is pretty cool. He actually does resist First Impression and he has good bulk, so you can actually get a couple of setup sweeps going if the AI doesn't have other anti-setup stuff, which they probably usually will. But for certain boss fights, you can probably cheese them with Stamina because you do resist that First Impression. Man, saying that abbreviation out loud. Super cursed. I can't believe I just did that. Yeah, Stamina, Intimidate, very good. Abilities, again, that Intimidate. You also have Battle Cry with Intimidate, which is awesome. Battle Cry will drop the attack and special attack at the opponent by 2. You also have Parting Shot, like I said. So in general, Arcanine's a great defensive utility Pokemon in that regard. And then Stamina is great for offensive. For a personal utility. Basically, you're either nerfing the opponent or you're bolstering yourself up. And with Stamina, you can actually switch in on something like First Impression, for example, or literally any resisted attack. It doesn't even have to be physical, and you'll get a +1 defense boost, and you can spam Morning Sun, or if you happen to delete Morning Sun, you can always just teach Sleep Talk by TM or Resto Chesto by TM and go with that for that boss fight to take that hit. Mystical Fire also is really good plus Intimidate. Mystical Fire will drop attack and special attack by 1 stage. It also works good with Stamina. You can just, nerf the opponent's offensive stats and then spam that a bunch and spam, rack up Stamina boost of Morning Sun and Mystical Fire and just become really fucking tanky. So that way when an actual strong physical Pokemon comes up, because ideally, the thing about Stamina being really good in game is that it's much better in game because the AI doesn't know when to switch out, so they're just going to keep using that move on you, even if like they're not dealing that much damage. Instead of switching out to their like Pokemon that's super effective, or like for example, say that you switch in on a fucking grass type that has like a neutral move on you, like I don't know, freaking. I can't think of one right now. I don't know, a normal grass normal type, or right, that's using Hyper Voice or something. It's going to use Hyper Voice instead of switching into their potential water type or whatever it is. So you can rack up stamina boosts in that regard. It's very easy, and you can become super bulky for the next Pokemon that comes in. You also have other good setup. Like I said, you got Dragon Dance, which fits because they already learned weird moves like Dragon Pulse, and they are this kind of weird legendary. Base stat total wise, by the way, I haven't covered this yet, but hopefully if you're a returning viewer, you already know what this is by now. And if you're a new viewer, it probably didn't seem that weird because Arcanine's already seen as like a legendary Pokemon. Arcanine is what I like to call a semi-pseudo legendary. There are dozens of new ones. Hold on, I was looking at my notes and I got distracted. There are dozens of new ones, but for 2-stage semi-pseudos, there are Pokemon like Arcanine, Exeggutor, Camerupt, Abomasnow, Volcarona, Avalugg, and Yanmega. So those are all really cool semi-pseudos. And there's of course a bunch of 3-stage ones and even a couple of single-stage ones. 6 of them actually, so that's not even a couple. It's almost as many as the 2-stage ones. But yeah. That's really cool. That just helps him be a mixed attacker and also still keep the speed. The speed stat makes a lot of sense. He learned moves like Extreme Speed, and he's supposed to be run super agile. He's supposed to be able to run super agilely. Is that a word? I guess it is. It's said right there, so fuck it. Yeah, all in all, though, great utility Pokemon. Raging Fury also works great with stamina. Raging Fury will give you +1 attack if you got hit by the opponent first. So what you can do is you can use Raging Fury and stamina and rack up attack and defense boosts. You can also use Rage, which does the same thing. However, Rage doesn't require you to be hit first. It just means that you get hit that turn. So for example, you use Rage, it's 80 base power no matter what, and then it'll give you +1 attack as long as you keep using it and also get hit that turn. So that's also a very good move via TM. That works good with stamina. And Morning Sun. Morning Sun is definitely something I would recommend keeping on your Arcanine. Maybe not the entire game. If you really need another move, like a coverage move for a certain boss fight, especially if you're doing Team Lock, you might need to delete it eventually. If you're not doing Team Lock, though, there's no reason to delete it. I would just keep it forever. Yeah, it's got good coverage moves, all types of really fun ones. All of these moves have higher base power or other additional effects like Wild Charge, Play Rough, Takedown, Rock Climb, all being, 110 base power recoil moves. And then you got like Stone Edge and all tons of good moves, all right? Submission, 150 base power, you got all types of really strong things here that you can check out what they do in the description below. Other really cool things is Burn Up plus Intimidate. Burn Up plus Intimidate is super sick. Burn Up will give you, basically Burn Up is 140 base power. And it always burns the opponent. So what you can do is you can use Intimidate, get that attack trap, burn up, burn the opponent, deal a big amount of damage, and then switch out. That's it, and then you switch out, and that's like a great, then you get Parting Shot out even. It's great. It's really, really cool. Very much worth using. That's where Arcanine excels. Obviously he's still strong and he's fast, so you can just use him for like boring offensive stuff, but he excels at the utility stuff while still being strong and strong and fast. So that's really good for him. Very cool Pokemon. Kind of boring, but the buffs and changes are pretty cool. Stamina's cool, and the moves and stuff are really cool. So I wouldn't mind using them too much. There's a way cooler Pokemon in the hack, but I know a lot of people love Arcanine. Very big fan favorite Pokemon. So if you are a big Arcanine fan, hopefully you like these buffs and changes. No dual type, no fire, normal for stab, E-speed. There's another fire normal type. Not only is there already Pyroar, who's way too similar to Arcanine, with Intimidate and Instinct, but there's also another fire normal type in Rapidash. So yeah, I don't like fire normal Arcanine, and I don't like Fire Dragon either. I don't like firefighting, any of that stuff, so I think Arcanine's fine as a pure fire type. Not to mention it's a very good defensive typing. So yeah, thank you for listening. I'll be back for more buffs and changes coming up. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think. And also, if you listen this far into the videos, first of all, shout out to you. Second of all, subscribe to the channel, share my videos with your friends, all that good stuff, and I appreciate you. Peace.